I think this video might be controversial. I have a bone to pick. Are there whiskies out there that are 43%, 40% that are still absolutely fantastic?
There's two sides to this. On one hand, as enthusiasts, we all want something that's a little bit stronger. I tend to call them craft presented whiskeys. So that means 46% or higher, non-chill filtered, natural color. I think it's important information, but I don't think it's essential to having a good whiskey.
So that's Geoff. He runs a whiskey YouTube channel. I've collabed with him before. You probably all know him by now. You can tell he's a pro in whiskey because of the mouth thing he does.
We get nuts, mulled wine, we get figs, getting a lot of very sweet berries, molasses, we get cinnamon, I get nutmeg, just a little.
I've heard ADHD whiskey say he's the best whiskey taster.
I'm the 2020 world's top whiskey taster.
But he does not come close to GWhisky. Am I starting a bourbon versus Scotch beef on YouTube? I might be. But apart from whiskey, Geoff has a bunch of other skills as well. He's an avid collector of office supply catalogs. He's a volunteer for rearranging road cones. Just amazing stuff. Out of all the people I've ever collabed with on this channel, I think Geoff is definitely the most recent. So in this video, we're going to talk about our absolute favorite 43 and 40% whiskey, some hidden gems, my favorites, Geoff's favorites, and at the end of the video, we've got a surprise. What is that, Geoff?
So we've got a mystery pour today. This is something I always do on my channel. If you go check out GWhisky, if I do my lists or something like that, I've always got a mystery pour, a little hook to keep you guys watching to the end. We've got one of those today, so make sure you stick around to the end of the list, and Phil and I are going to share our mystery pours with you guys.
And my mystery pour, you just won't believe it. Like, you guys better watch the ends because honestly,
you will shit your pants.
So first of all, we're going to start off with whiskies that are predictable. So the way I interpreted this, for me, I always found there's a few whiskies around that, you know, even the most whiskey geeks who like are super legalistic about this has got to be 46% and above, except this one and accept this one.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. There's a lot of whiskeys out there that get a lot of slack for being lower ABVs, but then there's a few whiskeys that for whatever reason seem to get a pass. Usually that reason is their flavors are interesting or they just do something that's a little bit unique despite the lower specs, works for us as enthusiasts. So those are the ones that we're talking about when we say predictable.
I have no idea if we're going to pick the same things. Maybe.
I think we might have because I'm pretty, you know, I suspect we might.
So my predictable pick is going to be the Benromic 10. So this one is 43%, but I absolutely love it. In our last video we did together, we talked about this potentially being an alternative to Springbank. It's got some of those like heavier kind of industrial notes, nice like sort of darker red fruits in there. Interesting whiskey. I find a lot of whiskey enthusiasts, they give this one a pass.
Yeah, Benromic 10 is a good one. One of the things it's got going for it is that it's incredibly affordable. It's widely available, and Benromic is just one of those brands that seems to get a pass, and for good reason. I'm a big fan of the Benromic 10. I think it's a great choice.
I almost could guess yours.
Okay, I want you to tell you what, guess first.
Is it? Dun dun. Dun dun. Dun dun. That was weird. Is it the Tamdhu 12?
It is not. No.
Oh, interesting.
My pick is same but different. This is almost embarrassing. It's like we showed up to the party wearing the same dress. I've got a Benromic, but I didn't go with the 10-year-old. I went with the 15-year-old. 15-year-old, guys, is such a beautiful whiskey. For me, it's the best of the Benromic core range, and that's including some of the older, fancier stuff. If you look at 21, for example, the 15 is by far my favorite. It's very lush. It's very well sherried. It's very rich. It's deep. Wonderful flavors. And again, Benromic pretty much across the board gives us pretty fair prices. So for a 15-year-old sherried whiskey, this comes in at a very reasonable price, 43%, but you wouldn't know it. And one of the most beautiful 15-year-olds out there.
Yeah, what I really like about Benromic is, you know, I think a lot of the criticism of 40% and 43% whiskies that, you know, you get from whiskey geeks and stuff is that this whiskey feels a bit flat. This whiskey feels one-dimensional. And that's one thing about Benromic, even at these lower specs, that hasn't been a critique for me.
I think that's part of it. Certainly you want good flavors in whatever whiskey you're drinking. But I would say it's more about intensity, actually, because I've had quite a few whiskeys with good flavors, but they still they come off maybe a little bit watery. They don't have that intensity. So if you can pull off a 43% whiskey with great flavors, but also gives you that intensity where you don't feel like you're drinking something that's got a lower ABV. There's plenty of whiskeys out there, Benromic is among them, where I just don't think about it. For me, the ABV is a non-issue because it doesn't taste watery, it doesn't taste flat. It gives us a full, rich, and mouth-coating flavor profile despite the lower ABV. And that's actually pretty hard to pull off. All right, our next category of whiskeys are whiskeys that do not get much attention. If you watch a lot of WhiskyTube, if you're online much, these are not whiskeys that get too much of a mention. They don't get a lot of love. So much like me in my childhood, these are whiskeys that are just underappreciated, that were not hugged enough growing up. So my pick for a whiskey that does not get enough attention, I think it does get some, but not enough. I think it's a great whiskey. What I've got here is the Ben Rinnes 15-year-old. This one is another sherried 15-year-old. It's absolutely beautiful. Now, if you're a fan of stuff like Mortlach, which is famously kind of like this meaty, savory sherried whiskey, I think this is a great alternative. So Mortlach 16, for example, in my market is considerably more expensive than the Ben Rinnes 15. And I think the Ben Rinnes 15 does a lot of the same things. If you're looking for that richness, you're looking for that meatiness, it's a really good whiskey, and I don't think it gets enough love.
That's a really good pick, actually. I'm kind of jealous of your pick. So I'm going to go for something which is probably one you might not be able to get, but I think deserves more attention. And it's going to be the Waiheke Sweetwater. This is 41%. It's a really nice, interesting whiskey, quite different from your Scotch whiskies. It's got this really nice kind of honeycomb note that I haven't had on many other whiskies. I think that's one that deserves more attention. I know you won't get it. Okay, so the next whiskey we're going to talk about is an easy sipper. So for me personally, I think this is something that I just want to grab a whiskey, I want to enjoy it, I want to watch TV, maybe I'll nose it every so often. No, it's going to be interesting enough that I'll keep coming back to it. But I'm going to land on this one actually here. This is the Glenkinchie 12. It's 43%. I remember lining up a bunch of whiskeys I had that were sort of 40 to 43% about a year ago, and I had them all blind. And this one actually surprisingly came out top. I think I had sort of presuppositions about what this whiskey is, and then realized actually no, there's actually a really interesting nose on this. It's got this like kind of biscuity hay kind of thing, and then under it is your classic kind of white fruits, your ex-bourbon cask stuff. It's an easy sipper. I like to go to it, and it's a good price where I am.
Yeah, that's a great choice, and I think a lot of these introductory Diageo bottles get a lot of hate simply because they are mass marketed and we get those lower specs. But to be honest, I think Diageo has some of Scotland's best distilleries. You'll always get a little bit of backlash when you talk about these kinds of whiskeys because people will say, I would never buy that. And that's fair. There's a lot of enthusiasts out there who only want the higher specs. That's reasonable. I understand where people are coming from. But oppositely, I don't want to deny myself access to great flavors or great distilleries simply because sometimes they have lower ABVs. I think Glenkinchie has a great distillate. I think they make good whiskey. The DE is another one I would recommend. But yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so what's your pick? I could guess it.
Okay, what do you think? So I think I had two. One was going to be Tamdhu and the other one was going to be
Open 14.
Yeah. Fucking predictable. All right. All right, guys, my pick for my casual daily sipper. So something that I drink casually after a long day of work. I want to relax. I want to unwind, but I don't want anything too bold or too challenging is the Tamdhu 12. I'm on a bit of a sherry roll today, but the Tamdhu 12, I think, is one of the most luxurious, affordable 12-year-olds on the market. Tamdhu 12 is fully matured in sherry barrels. A lot of people say Tamdhu is a great alternative to Macallan. And I agree. It's got a wonderful, luxurious quality to it. The 12 in particular, I find has a very silky feel. It's something I don't mind coming back to pretty often just because it's very affordable, it's widely available, and it does taste like you're drinking something special. Next up, guys, we've got our budget picks. These are great options if you want to save some money or if you live in a box on the side of the road.
These are the whiskeys that, if you're not the sort of person who changes the underwear every day, day one, normal way, day two, inside out, day three, back to front, day four, back to front, inside out. If you're that sort of person, these are the whiskeys for you.
Back to front, that's a great trick. A lot of people don't know that one.
If you guys are interested, Geoff's actually starting up a second channel about doing underwear
Geoff's
reviews.
Underwear musings. G Underwear. Yeah.
And so go check that out. But interesting stuff. Quite weird stuff too, but there's some interesting stuff there as well.
Don't put that in.
Did you introduce this? You did.
I think I did the intro, but I don't think I talked. So I just introduced it, and I said if you live on a box on the side of the road, and then we got sidetracked. I didn't even introduce the fucking whiskey yet.
Okay, what's your picks?
So my pick for budget-friendly whiskey is the Arran Barrel Reserve. This is a very affordable, widely available whiskey, and for me, this one kind of captures the magic of the Arran of old. Now, this is a personal opinion here, but I feel like Arran in general is leaning a little bit more and more into active casks these days. I think Aaron has such a beautiful and bright spirit that often gets overshadowed by these active casks. And what I like about this barrel reserve is that it kind of reminds me of those old Aarons, those old 10-year-old Aarons, for example. So it's a very bright, it's very lively, very distillate-driven whiskey with some great flavors. And again, great price tag on this one. So it's one that I come back to quite often.
Yeah, that's a great pick. And here in New Zealand, we get it for a really good price. So if you guys watched the stream that Geoff and I did recently with a bunch of other whiskey YouTubers, this is a whiskey that did come up. We did talk about. It is going to be maybe not specifically this whiskey, but I just want to highlight when you want something budget or maybe just, whiskey's expensive. This might be a brand you could go for, if you normally wouldn't even buy single malt full stop. And that's going to be the Glen Murray. I've got the Chardonnay cask. This is in the same price point for me. I got this for $67 New Zealand, which is insane. It's in the same price point as a Jameson, a Bowles. Overall, when you take value into the equation, I think this is one I can't sort of ignore. And if someone really only has $67 to buy a whiskey and no more than that, this is probably one I'm going to say, well, try that.
Yeah, I agree. I think Glen Murray's kind of slept on just because it is one of the most affordable whiskeys out there. Sure, it's not the best whiskey out there, but they're giving you a full range of whiskeys. You can try different flavors. So if you're curious what a port influence does or what a Chardonnay influence does or what a sherry influence does to a whiskey, you can try their budget-friendly, no age-stated range, and it's really not that expensive. So if you've got $67 to burn, definitely don't pay any bills with it. Go out, try a Glen Murray, and you can get an affordable taste of each of those different flavors.
So for this next round, we're going to be talking about premium whiskies. These are whiskies that could be a little bit more expensive. You're opening it for a special occasion maybe. So my pick for this is going to be a whiskey I have talked about before. But a lot of the time I talk about buying old whiskey is really hard to do now. Whiskey's getting really expensive. Even whiskies that are 16, 17, 18-year-olds, a lot of them are going outside my price range. This distillery does seem to be one of the distilleries where you can get some decent older age statement whiskies at some good prices. And the one I've picked is the Glenfarclas 21. And it's not that this is my favorite 21-year-old, but I think if, some of you out there who want to have an old whiskey in your collection but don't want to spend £1,000 on it, I think this is a good one to show you, what old whiskey can taste like. There's a lot of layers to it. It's got that sort of orchestra thing going on.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick. Glenfarclas is a really interesting brand. It's one of the few distilleries in Scotland that's fully family owned. They use direct fire stills. And more importantly for us as consumers, even as you go up in price, their whiskeys don't get absurdly expensive like they do with a lot of other brands. For me, my pick, I went with something that I reviewed very recently on the channel. And this is one that I didn't love initially. It took me a while to warm up to it, but I'm really enjoying it now. And that is the Aberlour 18 double sherry cask finish. This one is excellent, guys. It's finished in both Oloroso and PX sherry casks. And what I like about this one is Phil mentioned that symphony before, and that's something you get with older whiskeys. You get a little bit more complexity, you get more nuance, and you get a certain, I guess we could call it sophistication. I think this one has all of that. I think it's well balanced. And if you just want a mature and sophisticated, richly sherried whiskey, this one is a good option. Now, this is not the cheapest whiskey on this list. Again, we're going for our premium option here. So I'll leave it up to you guys to gauge if you think it's worth it, but I do recommend it. I think it's a beautiful sherry 18.
So now what you've all been waiting for, you've been hanging on to your seats. We're getting on to the famous GWhisky mystery pour. These are just far out. I bet a lot of you you probably just skipped ahead to this part because it's just fascinating, these whiskies coming up.
And to be honest, the rest of the video wasn't that interesting in the first place. Let's be honest.
So what is your mystery pour?
My mystery pour is a little bit of a controversial one because it gets its fair share of hate, and I understand why, because it's not a particularly cheap whiskey. I have this bottle right here, which is the Highland Park 18-year-old. Now, I got this one on sale, so I don't feel that burnt by it, but certainly I know that this is far too expensive in some markets, and a lot of people don't think it's worth the money. Personally, having bought this on sale, this one delivers. I like the flavors in this. Again, we're going for the sherried stuff. We get a little touch of that heathery peat that Highland Park is famous for. It's a really good one, actually. However, don't overpay for this one.
So my mystery pour, I think all the whiskies tonight, except maybe one, have been Scotch whiskies. So I was thinking, what else is there that you guys probably can find? And my mystery pour is the Yoichi. And this one's bottled at Okay, I mean, it's pretty close to 46%. It's 45%, but technically fits into this category. I think this is a really nice whiskey. It has a little touch of smokiness, which I quite like. I always find Japanese whiskey, they're very refined drams, and that's something I definitely get from this. Thanks again, Geoff, for agreeing to come on and chat whiskey. It's been awesome. If you guys haven't checked out his channel yet, which I mean, I'm probably sure you'll have, do go check him out. Link will be in the description.
Yeah, cheers, Paul. Thanks for having me, man.
Beauty, eh?